The way you speak is far more than just communication. It is creation. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a seed, and every sentence is a blueprint. When you speak, you're not just expressing thoughts, you are authoring outcomes. The moment you say something, you give life to it in your environment. That's why people who consistently speak from frustration, fear, or defeat often live in a world shaped by those very things. Language is not neutral. It either builds or it breaks. It lifts or it limits. And whether you realize it or not, you are living today in a harvest of yesterday's words. Language is the first act of dominion ever demonstrated. In the beginning of all things, it was not action that formed the world, it was speech. Let there be light, and there was light. This principle still operates today. When you speak, you activate invisible systems to respond to your command. People who understand this don't speak casually. They speak consciously. They don't just describe what they see. They declare what they want to create. They use words to form the future before it arrives. Your language is either partnering with your destiny or pushing it away. Most people use language reactively. They speak based on what's happening around them. They say, I'm tired, I'm broke, nothing's working, without realizing they are reinforcing a pattern and extending a cycle. The ultra-successful don't do this. They speak proactively. They declare energy when they feel drained. They speak clarity when things look chaotic. Why? Because they understand the power of alignment, and your words must align with where you're going, not where you've been. Speaking from your current condition keeps you stuck in your current condition. If your words are always rooted in your present reality, you'll never move into your potential reality. What you say programs your mind and trains your spirit. Every time you say, I can't, you build a wall in your imagination. But when you say, I will, I am, I have, even before it manifests, you begin to stretch your capacity to receive it. Faith is often invisible, but language is how you make it audible. When you speak boldly, you tell your future, I'm ready. You tell your environment, make room. You tell your excuses, you're no longer in charge. Language also determines relationships. People are drawn to those who speak with clarity, confidence, and conviction. When you speak small, you attract small thinkers. When you speak with authority, you attract builders, believers, and decision makers. The world is listening to your language and responding accordingly. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you consistently speak. Your vocabulary sets the frequency for your reality. And if you're always talking cheap, don't expect to live rich. Think about the stories you tell yourself. If you constantly repeat, "I've always been like this," "Things never work out for me," or "Success is for other people," you're not just speaking defeat. You're scripting a narrative your brain and body will follow. The mind obeys the mouth. When you shift your language, you shift your self-image. And when your self-image changes, your behavior and results follow. No transformation ever begins without a change in language. Speak differently, and you'll start thinking differently. Think differently, and you'll start choosing differently. People often underestimate the spiritual weight of their words. Words are not just sound, they are spirit in motion. They carry intent. They influence atmosphere. Have you ever walked into a room and felt either empowered or drained? Just by someone's tone. That's not just emotion. That's the energy language carries. And when you begin to speak from identity, not insecurity, from power, not pity, you will start to alter the environment around you without even trying. You become a thermostat, not a thermometer. The ultra rich are hyper aware of how they use language. They understand that speaking from abundance attracts abundance. They speak in the language of opportunity, solutions, and movement. They don't waste words describing what's wrong. They invest words into building what's next. You'll rarely hear them say, hopefully, maybe, or someday. They speak decisively. They speak precisely. They don't just use affirmations. They make declarations. And those declarations become directions for their lives. It's not enough to think big if you still speak small. Thought determines intention, but language determines direction. Many people have amazing visions in their mind, but cancel them out with weak or fearful speech. They'll visualize greatness, but verbalize mediocrity. That's a disconnect. And where there's a disconnect, there's no manifestation. The more your language becomes consistent with your vision, the faster that vision becomes reality. Your life will never outperform your mouth. So every time you open your mouth, you're giving your future instructions. You're setting expectations. You're unlocking doors or locking them. Language is not just communication, it is activation. The moment you grasp this truth, you stop speaking carelessly. You begin to speak deliberately. You begin to speak on purpose. Because when you truly understand that language creates reality, your mouth becomes your most powerful tool for transformation. The ultra rich don't just speak to fill silence. They speak to create structure. Every word that comes out of their mouths is rooted in intention. They understand that speaking is a form of directing energy, not just expressing opinion. When they say something, it is calculated, aligned, and strategic. They aren't careless with their language because they know the cost of verbal confusion. Their words are not reactions to emotion. They are extensions of vision. They don't speak to explain where they are. They speak to define where they're going. They refuse to use language that limits possibility. They don't say things like, I hope this works, or maybe this will happen. Instead, they say, this will happen. Here's how I'm going to do it. And it's already unfolding. There's no room for vague, passive speech in a wealthy mindset. The reason is simple. Vague words produce vague results. If you're not intentional about what you speak, you will unconsciously reinforce limitation. The ultra-rich know this, and they use their words to clarify, not confuse. Even when they face uncertainty, the ultra-rich don't surrender to fear-based language. They still speak in power. They don't deny challenges, but they frame them as temporary, solvable, and strategic. While most people say, this is a problem, they say, this is a puzzle I'm built to solve. They never allow limitation to become their identity. That's the difference. Most people speak as if their circumstances are permanent. The ultra-rich speak as if their vision is inevitable. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. Their language reveals their level of responsibility. When something goes wrong, they don't say, that's not my fault. They ask, what can I own in this? Why? Because people who speak with limitation try to escape accountability. People who speak with intention accept it. They take ownership of results, outcomes, and the power of their own influence. Their speech reflects leadership. Every time they speak, they are directing, aligning, and recalibrating their environment. When the ultra-rich speak about money, opportunity, or business, they use words of growth and multiplication, not scarcity and survival. They don't talk about cutting corners. They talk about increasing capacity. Their focus is not on what they lack, but on what they can leverage. Listen closely, and you'll hear them say words like scale, systems, impact, and legacy. These are not just financial terms. They are intentional perspectives. Their language is shaped by vision, not by insecurity. They speak in timelines and targets, not in wishes and guesses. They don't say someday or eventually. They say by next quarter, within 6 months, or after this phase. Their language is time-bound, action-oriented, and measurable. Why? Because intention without structure is just fantasy. Most people confuse ambition with direction. The ultra-rich separate the two by putting strategy into their speech. That's how their language becomes a GPS for success instead of a journal of complaints. Their vocabulary reflects empowerment. You won't hear them saying, "I'm stuck," or "I don't know what to do." Even in moments of transition, they reframe confusion into curiosity. Instead of saying, "I'm lost," they'll say, "I'm exploring options." That's not just clever phrasing. It's mental discipline, because they know every word that leaves their mouth shapes their emotional state and determines how others respond to them. Intention sharpens focus, and focus accelerates execution. The ultra-rich are aware that the subconscious mind is always listening. That's why they guard their language, even in casual conversations. They understand that every word spoken becomes a signal to the brain, and the brain begins to filter life through that signal. If you keep saying, "I'm overwhelmed," your brain will find more reasons to confirm it. But if you say, "I'm managing a lot and making it work," your mind adjusts its resources to rise to that declaration. This is why speaking with intention is non-negotiable. They've trained themselves to stop saying things that disempower them. You won't hear them downplay their goals or belittle their vision to make others comfortable. They don't shrink their language to fit the room. They elevate the room with their language. They don't say, "I just want to survive this year." They say, "I'm going to scale 3 times higher than last year." Even if it stretches belief, they speak from possibility, not permission. Their speech aligns with where they're going, not what people think is realistic. This level of intentional speaking is not something they do occasionally. It's how they live. It shows up in meetings, in negotiations, in mentoring, in marketing. It's in the way they speak to their teams, their clients, and themselves. It is not motivational fluff. It's the structure of their mindset. And because they consistently speak with clear intent, they move with authority, attract aligned partnerships, and open doors that most people don't even know exist. Most people speak based on what's happening around them, not who they truly are, and that's why their life never shifts. They describe what they see, what they feel, and what they fear, rather than declaring what they believe, who they are, and where they're going. Speaking from circumstances means your voice is constantly reacting. Speaking from identity means your voice is leading. When you speak from identity, you're not giving your current condition the authority to define your future. You're speaking from the place of who you've been created to be, not what you're temporarily going through. Circumstances are unstable, always changing, always shifting. If your words are built on circumstances, your confidence will rise and fall like the tide. But identity is stable. It is grounded in truth, in vision, in divine design. Identity doesn't waver when challenges arise. It's the rock you build your voice on. The ultra successful don't just affirm identity in private. They speak from it in public. They speak from the knowledge of being a builder, a leader, a visionary, a solution bearer, even when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. They don't wait for reality to approve of their language. They declare it anyway. When you speak from identity, you give instructions to your environment instead of asking for permission. People who speak from circumstances ask, is it okay if I try this? People who speak from identity declare, this is what I've been assigned to do, and it's already in motion. That kind of speech carries authority. It creates movement. It demands alignment. Circumstances respond to bold identity, not to emotional fragility. The moment you open your mouth with clarity and conviction, the world starts to listen differently. Speaking from identity also means that you don't let labels stick to you. Life may try to label you unqualified, too late, not enough. But when you know who you are, you speak differently. You don't repeat the label. You replace it with truth. You say, I am called, I am equipped, I am favored, I am chosen, not because you feel it, but because it's who you've decided to be. Identity-based language isn't built on feelings. It's built on decision. And once you decide, your voice must reflect it at every level. The danger of speaking from circumstances is that it keeps you in survival mode. You'll always be narrating your problems instead of declaring your potential. Instead of saying, I'm barely making it, speak from identity. I am a wealth creator, and everything I touch multiplies. Instead of saying, I'm struggling to find purpose, say, I'm walking in divine assignment and every step is being directed. Even if the journey is messy, your identity remains clear. And the clearer your identity, the sharper your language. When your words come from identity, you'll stop echoing the noise of the world. You won't speak what the news is saying, what social media is pushing, or what fear is whispering. You'll speak from a higher perspective. You'll speak from your calling, not your confusion. And that will set you apart, because most people are just repeating the sounds of their surroundings. But when you speak from identity, you become a sound all your own. A sound that leads, inspires, and transforms everything it touches. Identity-based language also strengthens your internal culture. You stop relying on external validation to feel powerful. You don't need people to agree with you to speak with conviction. Because when you know who you are, agreement becomes a bonus, not a requirement. The richest, most influential voices in the world didn't wait for applause before they spoke. They declared truth before anyone clapped. And that's what made them leaders. Identity gives you the freedom to speak in rooms where you're underestimated and still dominate the atmosphere. When you speak from circumstances, you unintentionally reinforce them, saying, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stuck, or I don't know what to do, might feel honest, but it's often disempowering. When you speak from identity, you say, I'm navigating this season with wisdom, or I'm equipped to handle the weight I'm carrying. That shift in language doesn't ignore reality. It elevates you above it. It allows you to stand in the storm without being defined by the storm. And that is the key to long-term endurance. People who speak from identity are not delusional. They are intentional. They understand that their mouth is not a mirror. It is a magnet. They don't use their words to reflect their situation. They use them to attract solutions. Their language is not a reaction, it's a declaration. And the more they declare from who they are, the more their circumstances begin to conform to that truth. This is how transformation starts. Not with a new opportunity, but with a new vocabulary. The world is loud with temporary voices. People speaking from panic, trends, and pain. But identity speaks with consistency. Identity says, I was born for this. Identity says, I can be trusted with more. Identity says, what I speak today will shape where I stand tomorrow. And when that becomes your normal, you no longer speak like the world. You speak like someone who's already walking in the future they were born to create. Your voice is not just a sound, it is a force. Every word that comes out of your mouth carries power, and that power moves in the direction of your belief. When you speak, you don't just describe what you see, you activate what you expect. Your voice doesn't just reflect your mindset, it sets your motion. It triggers the sequence of events, decisions, and behaviors that start to align with what you declare. People think their future is waiting on a breakthrough or a connection, but more often, it's waiting on their own mouth to release what's already been placed inside them. Many live in delay because their voice is on mute. They're waiting for a perfect moment, waiting for more confidence, waiting for someone to validate them before they open their mouth. But your future is not unlocked by silence. It is unlocked by speech. Until you speak, nothing moves. Until you declare, doors remain closed. This isn't just about motivation. It's about divine design. Even in creation, nothing happened until the words were spoken. Let there, thou, was the command that launched the universe. That same principle still operates. Your let there be moment is waiting for you to say it. The most successful people understand this law deeply. They don't speak casually. They speak strategically. They know that every time they articulate their vision, they're giving it more form, more energy, more velocity. They don't wait for things to look possible. They speak as if they already are. And by doing so, they stir faith, attract solutions, and create movement. Their voice becomes the alarm clock that wakes up their potential. They activate momentum with language, not just with action. Your voice is also the gatekeeper of your confidence. What you say reinforces what you believe. If you constantly speak doubt, your confidence will shrink to match your vocabulary. But if you speak with boldness, even in uncertainty, you give your confidence permission to rise. That's why declarations matter. Saying, I am qualified, I am trusted with wealth, I carry value wherever I go, isn't just feel good language, it's alignment language. You're training your mind and your emotions to support the future you're building. The more you speak something, the more real it becomes. Not just in the world, but in your own system. Your voice programs your mind. It gives your brain commands. And your brain, in turn, looks for evidence to support the words you've spoken. Say, I always mess things up. And your brain will filter every failure to reinforce that idea. Say, I'm learning and leveling up daily, and your brain will start scanning for growth moments. Your voice sets the internal search engine of your life. This is why vague language is dangerous. When you say things like, I hope something works out, or maybe one day I'll succeed, you're giving your future mixed instructions. You're not sending clear signals, and unclear signals never produce clear results. The people who experience accelerated success speak in clarity. They say, I will close that deal. I am stepping into new territory. This is my season of increase. And because they speak it with clarity, they begin to notice opportunities others miss. Your voice also influences your surroundings. People respond to what you say. When you speak with direction and authority, you shift the way others treat you, the way rooms respond to you, and the way environments open up to you, a confident voice draws respect. A hesitant voice draws hesitation. When you speak like a leader, people follow. When you speak like a problem solver, solutions show up. The tone, the language, and the spirit of your voice all work together to shape how your future unfolds in real time. It's important to recognize that silence is not always humility. Sometimes it's fear in disguise. Some stay quiet, not because they're wise, but because they're unsure. But you cannot afford to be silent about your vision. You cannot afford to hold back declarations that build your future. Every day you withhold your voice is a day your future stays paused. Every day you suppress your conviction is a day you give limitation another advantage. Your voice must move before your feet